Hello, welcome. My name is Barbara around the WNBA. Listen, the Indiana Fever versus the Seattle Storm. The Fever get their fifth consecutive win. Let's get into it. Some people didn't think that the Indiana Fever could do it. Some people think because CC is not playing because of her groin injury, that the Fever can't be winning games. They couldn't do it. What the Fever has done is closed the mouth of naysayers who have not given them the credit of being a good team. And let's emphasize the word team. They are playing as a team. It's not just one individual. Now, on any given night, one individual could score higher than others. That happens. But what I'm talking about is that in order for you to win a game, it's a team effort. You could have one player, say, getting maybe 25 points or 30 points or even 40 points, but that won't win a whole game. So it's always a team effort. And this is what the Indiana Fever showed us as they played the Seattle Storm. Now, was it pretty? Some parts of it were kind of messy. The latter part of the first, kind of messy. The latter part of the fourth, kind of messy. However, the Fever still maintained to get a win. Let's get into it. Okay, here we go. First quarter, Indiana 17, Seattle 16. So they were pretty close in the first quarter, both making some mistakes, both not getting all the buckets they wanted to get. Second quarter, Indiana 25 and Seattle 18. Now here we see Indiana making a push. Okay, they're making a push. Howard is scoring. All right. Even though for Mitchell, she's not scoring the way she wants to. The 3-pointers are not going in. But the Indiana Fever stuck with it. They stuck together and they played basketball. Quarter number 3, 16 Indiana, 20 Seattle. That tells us that here in the third quarter, Indiana Fever was not up to par as far as their defense. Now, given they're coming back from the half, one would think that they would increase their defense automatically, but they didn't. They did not. And it gave the opportunity for Seattle to get some buckets. And it was 16, again, Indiana, and 20 Seattle. Now, in the quarter number 4, it was 20-20. What does that tell you when it's 20-20 in the fourth quarter? That it was pretty even. They were going back and forth for a minute, okay, getting buckets. And then, of course, Seattle made a little surge there. And they began to get bucket and then a bucket. All right. But what was going on with the Fever was that they were maintaining. They were trying to be consistent. Okay. They were trying to make sure that they would make the buckets. Okay. And they were doing it. All right. It ended with the score being 78 Indiana to 74. So that tells us it was a close game. Seattle's not a team to, downplay. They can go on a roll and they can hit those buckets, whether it be Gabby, whether it be Diggins, NECA, they can hit buckets. It just so happens that the Fever were able to or consistently get buckets more than the Seattle Storm. And we know that the Fever had been working on the defense. They had been working on, increasing that and really going at a faster pace, which is where their sweet spot is, that fast pace. So they've been working on that. And tonight they have shown us that they do and can work as a team because it was a team effort. Yes, Howard was, the biggest scorer. She stepped up tonight. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. She stepped up tonight. All right. And so did Eri. Eri was on point. She's a little speedster. She will speed around that court. And that in the paint, that's Eri's home. In the paint is Eri's home. That's her house. Okay? And so we really understand now that it's about a team effort. It's about greater defense. It's about making it hard for your opponent to score. And at some points, first quarter, second quarter, for sure the second quarter, Indiana made it hard for the Seattle Storm to score. Bottom line. Okay. Now, they're in the beginning of two more games that are going to be played away. And so that's tough. That's hard. But can they do it? Yes. One game at a time, one bucket at a time, one quarter at a time. They got to be present to where their feet are. They can't be overstepping. They can't be worried or wondering about this or about that. They got to stay focused. They got to stay locked in. They got to be locked in, right? That's going to win them games, being locked in. Okay? Even locked in from play to play and not being all emotional and caught up in if they miss a bucket or something doesn't happen, right? Sophie Cunningham was on point, all right, during this game. 3-point shots, okay? Confidence. They have confidence. And even when they don't score a bucket or something doesn't go the way they want it to, that confidence has to be high. It's got to be up there for them to continue. And through this game, we saw that, all right, they were going neck and neck. And there were a few times where, they had a change of, it was going back and forth. And one team was up, one team was down. But they didn't give up. They did not give up. And that's key to winning a basketball game. Do not give up. No matter what the score looks like, no matter if you miss a basket or not, do not give up. Now, as far as Seattle, Gabby had 12 points. Nneka had 16 points. Ezzy had 8 points. Wheeler had 9 points. Diggins had 13 points. Malonga had 12 points. Mitchell had 4 points. Okay? Now, let me just say that Dominique Malonga on the Seattle Storm has been making leaps and bounds. She has really been getting much better in terms of being in the paint, in terms of rebounding. She is increasing in her skill. And so this young woman who's, I think, 19, I want to see her in her second year because she's going to even be that much more to contend with. She's tall. Her wingspan is unbelievable. Okay? And so they have an asset right there, Seattle Storm. So she's up and coming. She's one of the rookies. Dominique Malonga. All right. Now, as far as 3 points made, Nneka had 1 of 4. Erica Wheeler had 1 of 3. And that was it. So they did most of their ball play in the paint or somewhere, at mid section of the floor. All right, for Indiana Fever, it was Mitchell 9 points, Howard 21, Boston 16, Cunningham 17, McDonald 9, and Dantas 6. And let's see, for 3-pointers, Sophie Cunningham 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. She was hot. Okay. And basically that was it for 3-pointers for the Indiana Fever. And Howard stepped up. She had 21 points, the most points for the team. 21 points. She stepped up. And that's what she's got to be consistently doing. Stepping up. Now, in the game, she made some turnovers. Okay, somehow her hand couldn't hold on to the ball. She made some turnovers. And that's going to happen from time to time. But she's got to be consistently not doing that. and she's got to be about keeping her eye on the ball, her hand on the ball, and not losing it or turning it over to the other team. Now, as far as points in the paint, 52 for Indiana, 46 for Seattle. Second chance points, 8 for Indiana, 10 for Seattle. Fast break points, 15 for Indiana, 14 for Seattle. Biggest lead was 13 for Indiana and 3 for Seattle. Team rebounds, 5 for Indiana, 9 for Seattle. Team turnovers, 16 for Indiana and 15 for Seattle. Points off of turnovers, 16 for Indiana and 19 for Seattle. Okay. They had 6 lead changes, and they were tied 3 times. Okay. So, again, they were pretty close in this game. And it could have been anybody's game. But what the Indiana Fever did was they showed up, they showed out, and they didn't want to lose. All right? And so they made it a point to be better during this game. The attendance at this particular game was 16,819. The Seattle Storm have had 2 games with the Fever, and in both games, the Fever won. So they have one more game scheduled for August 26th with the Indiana Fever. Now, basically, keeping it simple and cut and dry here, the Indiana Fever won because they were working together. They were communicating. Okay? The game was not flawless. It really wasn't. There were times when they made some mistakes. They turned over the ball. There were times when their defense was poor. It wasn't up to par. All right? But yet they still won. And that tells me that Seattle Storm didn't have it together. Their defense was poor. Okay? Their offense was lacking. All right? So this is how they balance each other out, so to speak. And this is why the win was so close. Okay? But even when you have a team like Seattle Storm, you cannot sleep on them. Just like when you have a team like the Indiana Fever, you cannot sleep on them. Okay? You got to play your best game whenever you're on that court. And the Indiana Fever have increased their defense, yes, because they've been winning games. This is their 5th game that they've won in a row. So they're doing something right. All right? Think about that. If you're winning 5 games in a row, those 5 teams that you played weren't all terrible teams. Some of them were top-tier teams. Okay? So that means that something that the Indiana Fever is doing is working. And we got to celebrate that. But also encourage them to continue to get better with their defense, continue the communication, continue to have a fast-paced game, continue to have some good looks at the basket, continue working on their precision of getting the ball into the hoop. All right? And no matter whether they're at home or whether they are on someone else's court, they have to produce. Howard's got to continue to be consistent and increase that in every game that she's a part of. Okay? So, because that way, if Mitchell's not hitting, then maybe it's going to be Cunningham. Cunningham not hitting, maybe it's going to be Erie. Erie not hitting, it's going to be Howard. It's going to be Boston. All right? They all got to be consistent in their role, doing what they do best. Producing, getting those buckets, right? And getting the win collectively as a team. Okay? So, there you have it. The Indiana Fever versus the Seattle Storm. Fever win. Their 5th consecutive win. Go Fever. So if you've enjoyed this video, my content, come on and subscribe. Just come on and subscribe. Might as well. Okay? Love to have you. And give me a thumbs up because that helps. And tap the bell because when you tap the bell, it gives you a notification when there's new content. So, all that said, my name is Barbara, around the WNBA. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, peace and blessings. Go Fever.